Oh, thank you.
There you go.
Hi.
My name's Ashley Dicko. Pleasure to virtually meet you. So out of all the questions that burn in my soul, this is a huge one, and I would only ask you this. So one thing that I could never really understand about just our reality, I suppose, is that when you look at the current state of our world right now and just everything in terms of how there's so much separation and the low vibration, competition, everything like that. But yet you look at the natural state of human beings and we're very loving naturally and very kind. It's more of our natural state. And you think of love in the how high of a vibration or how powerful love is, and yet somehow darkness has been able to rule over our planet. And I don't know, sorry, I'm like shaking. Sorry, I don't know, I'm like so nervous. I don't know how that's possible where dark or lower energies could take control over this planet, or like the 0.001% of darkness can somehow get like a grip or hold when you have so much love. And yeah, it just seems like, was there a perversion at some point of the spiritual laws or of esoteric knowledge where they were able to manipulate it? They basically put the rules in their favor, so the game was rigged in a sense. Like, how did that happen?
Well, it is. Thanks for your question. Thanks for being part of the conference. And that's such a deep and important question. It's something that's on my mind almost every day. How did this aberration take place? And it is partly external control. But what has happened is external forces of control have just co-opted a psychological, I think the root of your question here, what you're getting at, is really a psychological defect. And that is that when we use the word love, it is the single most misused word in the English language. Often when you really closely look at what we say is love, it's really false love that we're looking at. In the relationship of parents to children, in man-woman relationships, in countries, in the relationship of the God master to the slave believer, and all this stuff. In short, there is a thing called love, but it is love ultimately for one's own self. Now, I know that sounds like a cliche, but really what has happened is the real love is remember I was saying earlier to David there that when we talk of psyche, we're many people in one. In other words, what I mean is we have many hemispheres within. But we have made sure that we have caged 90% of our own selves, which is collectively known as the shadow. Everybody's talking about the shadow self. It's not one self, it's hundreds of selves. It's hundreds of little children that we weren't allowed to be when we were young and explored. That's all been caged for that one person that the parents approved of, or that society approved of. So we are living a very emaciated, how can I say it? It's like we've been skinned, we've been fleshed. The person we are is a very small shadow of who we really could have been had we lived in a kind of a different society, a different life. And so all those parts that are in shadow, that our shadow selves, to use the Jungian term, they're in the darkness of unlovedness. And the part that is in the light is just a little tiny mannequin, barely functioning, frightened, traumatized, hand-packed, picked upon, comparing him or herself with everyone who comes in front of them, deeply lost in desire, deeply confused, seeking through all the different falsities out there, or the religious paths and whatever it might be. And then talking lots of words about love. And then, as you say, then for all that talk and all that rhetoric, we don't see any love in the world. You're going to tell me that, animals are being loved? Or that nature, we're in the 6th extinction phase right now. Literally millions of species have been killed and more are, it's every day. Where's our sensitivity? Where's our love for the we call them lessers, what a joke, for the other sentient life forms. So the real, but you see, that's because we have care for that. We have care for another person as they must have care for us. Love, however, is almost strictly an internal process. Once you've got it, something different happens and your caring expands to a very special degree. But with that care of other people, or care of the world, or care of animals, is a kind of lots of boundaries as well, because we're protecting the self. Now, we haven't been taught any of this. We don't know any of this. We're picking this up on our own, like you are, and I am. We're picking up the slack in our older age, spending our money, going to conferences, reading the books. Why the hell were we taught this in the 18 years when we was at school? What was our elders doing? Well, what they were doing was putting us like a man in the iron mask, telling us all the wrong bad habits. You call that love? Again, it's false love. So we have to pick up the slack on our own, isn't it? We got to find, and then you know what we do? We go through all the sick relationships, we go through all the bullshit, all the, the heads being beaten off the walls of the universe to find out what? What is false love? See, my work is all apophatic, it's all deconstructive. It's all about getting rid of the lies so that then the truth can come about. The truth isn't going to come and hit you in the face. It's through the painstaking deconstruction of falsity, getting rid of what is not true to find the truth. And we've never been taught that. The Steiners taught it, the Krishnamurtis taught it, one or two others have taught it. But mostly it's the other way, where we just gain more knowledge, gain more, find out more, just glut ourselves with information, and we're starving ourselves spiritually. Because we haven't learned what it's really all about. In this apophatic movement, which is what we're doing, is deconstructing all the matrix of lies. That's an act of love. Because what it really is an act of empowering yourself, gaining the psychic hygiene, so that all your body and your mind and your heart are working openly and freely. We'll be talking about this in the Hermit card next. Where all even the bioenergy, all parts of you, are flowing with the bioenergy. That is the act of love. That's the real act of love. Is when the bioenergy that you were given, that animates your spirit, is flowing very strongly. And so that you have a certain willpower, a certain dynamism, not to conquer and subdue other people, but to have a higher sense of self-esteem, right? Or what they call a statement of higher value. And then through that model, when you're that person, then through your model, you affect other people. Then you can raise the kids properly. Then you can change the minds of the masses. When you walk out there on crutches, how much can you help the rest of the world? This is some intellectual illusion that most people are under. Hoping that by waving a few placards and doing a few bits of good here and there, that you're really going to change anything. The only person you can change is yourself. And then there's a process of how to do that. And the ultimate goal of that is self-love. It's self-love in the beginning, self-love in the middle, and self-love at the end. But when we don't have the self-love, what we have in its place is self-loathing, self-hatred. And that will never change anything. It will drag the world into the state of decay that you see it's in.
Thank you.